day of 3-day international webinar on impact of physics in healthcare. Hearty welcome. Before starting, let us invoke God's blessings for us. Our Cosmic Father, bless each one of us who have gathered here. Fill all our minds with your enthusiasm and wisdom, and help us to understand everything what is being shared today. Cosmic Father, help us and transform each one of us to become great contributors to this society. With this short prayer, I welcome you all to this webinar. Dreams is not what you see in sleep. Dreams is a thing which doesn't let you sleep. Department of Physics, Stella College, Vijayawada, fondly remembers and dedicates the second day of 3-day international webinar on impact of physics in healthcare towards celebrating each moment of APJ Kalam sir's life on his birth anniversary day, that is today. India can never forget his indelible contribution towards national development, be it as a scientist and as the President of India, as his life journey gives strength to millions day. Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam sir's birthday is being celebrated as World Students' Day. Learning gives creativity. Creativity leads to thinking. Thinking provides knowledge. Knowledge makes you great. Life and time are the world's best teachers. Life teaches us to make good use of time, and time teaches us the value of life. If 4 things are followed, having a great aim, acquiring knowledge, hard work, and perseverance, then anything can be achieved. On this World Students' Day, let us remember shining stars of today. One child, one teacher, one book, and one pen can change the world. Let us pick up our books and pencils. They are our most powerful weapon. Such inspiring words coming from Malala. No one is too small to make a difference. Everyone can do something. If everyone did something, then huge differences can happen. Team environmentalist Greta Thunberg's promising words. The power is within you, youth. On such a significant day, we are happy to introduce another eminent youth who is doing his postdoctoral fellowship in Germany amidst us. He is Dr. Kumar. We are really happy to have a youth to address our gathering on this significant day. I invite Dr. Sharon to present his biodata to the gathering.
Namaste. Good afternoon. Hello. It is my pleasure and privilege to introduce our distinguished speaker, Dr. Kumar Vutukuri. Dr. Kumar Vutukuri is an enthusiastic, active, and a renowned business person in the field of innovation. He has been a postdoctoral fellow from University of Frankfurt, Germany. He received his doctorate degree from University of Frankfurt. Our speaker has an outstanding research experience as a research assistant, guest scientist in Germany. He obtained his master's degree in biotechnology from the University of Gießen, Germany. He earned many academic honors like the Postdoctoral Fellowship, Els Bronner, Renicius Stipend, and many more to his credit. Dr. Rajkumar Vutukuri has published many research papers in leading international journals like IOVS, PASEP Journal, Journal of Neurochem, etc., and presented his research work throughout the world in Berlin, USA, and Stockholm. Dr. Rajkumar is a member of Federation of European Neuroscience Societies, Fellow of Indian Society of Applied Biotechnology, member of Indus India Foundation. On the top of everything, our esteemed speaker is the founder of the Chamberlain Student Society and publisher of the book, The Bioelectricity. We also organize many international conferences on bioindustry interactions. He has not only been a great academician, but also an active sportsman. He excelled in various sports and games and won many prizes. In a nutshell, our speaker is a young, dynamic, inspiring, electrifying role model to all the younger generation to promote and to exchange cutting-edge ideas in an effort to foster fruitful research networking amongst educational community. I welcome you, sir, virtually to our midst on behalf of Stella College, Vijayawada. Thank you, sir. Now, I hand over the session to our honorable speaker, Dr. Rajkumar Vutukuri. Thank you, sir.
Okay. First of all, thank you very much. And I'm now trying to show my presentation. Okay. So can everybody see my presentation now? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We can see.
Okay, thank you. First of all, good afternoon, everybody from my side, and thanks a lot for the kind introduction. And it's a great honor that I'm presenting on the Students' Day. And I'm happy that this is my second webinar that I'm presenting from side of Stella College. And once again, I think I take this opportunity and try to share some knowledge what I have for the students with respect to the physics in biology and also in instrumentation as a career. So I would like to tell you that I'm not an expert in physics, so I'm mostly trying to share the applications, and depending upon the interest of the students, so you have to later try to just figure out what your interests are, and then you can in detail study the different instrumentation or the mechanisms or the subjects what I'm presenting about this. And I think your physics faculties are better than me, so they would be explaining more principles and then about the physics aspects in the biology what I am bringing to you, so that you will be very clear and you don't need to hear something from me about physics. So, and also, I just wanted to give this small disclaimer that some of the information about in my talk would be my opinions, and they need not be strictly accepted. And other thing is, I try to provide maximum information in the presentation, and please check the links for any further clarification about the information. I have taken utmost care in providing the information, and in case if there is any change of the information, I'm not responsible, and that's the reason I'm advising everybody to check the links if you are interested. And also, it's important that I want to mention that I'm not associated with any company mentioned over here, and I'm not supporting anything. This is just a small drop of information I have taken from the ocean, so I might be missing something, and any link is purely coincidental. And I would be especially tomorrow, I think I'll be discussing about few instruments, and I'm not prescribing them to use. And whatever the device, anything what I'm mentioning, please, if you really are interested in that, they have to be only used under supervision, and try to take prescriptions of them. And I'm not responsible for any other inappropriate use of the same. Okay, so having said that, what I would be, as I already told you, I would be talking some very fundamentals, and then I would be talking about physics and biology, some interesting bio research topics. So you know, physics is a vast area. So what I have done is, from each basic concepts of the physics, I have explained you some applications, how they are used in the biology. So maybe, you know, in each of the application, I will be talking about one or two instrument at the most, because the list is infinite. So all these are the different areas that I'll be talking today. So I'll be discussing something about electricity and applications, magnetism and applications, and also astrobiophysics and nanotechnology. And I think, you know, if I talk 1.5 to 2 hours of time completely about the subject, I think I don't know how much can be intaken. So I would also like to make it little interesting and try to provide some other interesting areas, so that if you are interested in them, you can definitely choose them as a career option. So as I already told you, I would like to first start the fundamentals of biology, chemistry, and the physics. I think, you know, people, we always think which subject is better, or which is the superior subject. But in my opinion, all are same. And even yesterday, you have heard that everything is interlinked. And if you just see a small thing, like, you know, just imagine during the evolution, a man doesn't know all these subjects, right? So he doesn't know physics, he doesn't know chemistry, he doesn't know biology, but yet a human himself can survive. But if you think a little bit deeper, then you can understand that any living organism is nothing but chemistry. These are nothing but chemical molecules, right? And if you think chemistry is nothing but physics, without any kind of an interaction or the concepts of the physics, there is no possibility for any chemical to exist. So it is like, you know, biology is nothing but physics and chemistry, and then chemistry is physics is the basic of any existence. But what you have to appreciate is that, why are we studying anything if there is no human being? Do you think, I still believe that if there is no human being, the matter still exists, the biology still exists. But physics, chemistry, mathematics, or any areas of studies, what we are doing is just for better living. Uh, yeah, is just for the better living. And as I told you, physics and chemistry do exist even without the human, but they are not explored or not admired. And as they say, life goes on even if it is not understood. We only study them for better living. Ma'am, yeah, okay. And you know, just supporting my view, I think everybody is aware of Stephen Hawking, and he also famously claimed that, you know, while physics and mathematics may tell us how the universe began, they are not of much use in predicting the human behavior, because there are far too many equations to solve. You know, its life itself is a micro universe, is what I believe. And trying to understand is so fascinating, and that's the reason, it's one of the reasons that I am in the field of research now. So as I already mentioned, if you take physics, all these are the main important principles, like thermodynamics about heat, magnetism, electricity, optics, acoustics, and astrophysics as well. So these are the main branches, I think. And I will not be discussing so much about electronics. The reason is, now in the modern world, even if you have to on any machine, electronics is important. So believing that electronics is an integral part of everything, I'm not discussing so much about electronics in this presentation. So first of all, I think coming into aspects of the physics, okay, I told you a small kind of a story, but do you really think physics is there in life or not? If you say, I think everybody knows that, you know, human body consists of water, fire, air, space, and these are the basic elements present in the life or in the universe, and these are also present in the human beings. For example, you see 83% of the brain consists of is made of water. A total human body is nothing but water, like, you know, 70% of the land is covered by water. So different parts of the body do have a lot of water content. And the fire, whatever the energy we are taking, is nothing but the fire, which is another basic elements. And to survive, it is the air which is required. So this is also very important. And the space, for example, the space is nothing but providing you the flexibility of the structures. For example, you have bones and skin, which is like the earth form, and then for these to work properly, there is a space which allows you to move properly. So, like in the nature, if there is a disturbance in the nature, we are actually already seeing a lot of natural calamities, greenhouse, all these calamities, greenhouse, tsunamis, all these. So if there is a disturbance in these fundamental elements in the body, this causes disease. And the physical elements are the basis of the survival, and they have to be protected. This is what I think all the advancements is about. And that is a very basic physics in the human body. But if you even more dig deeper, you will understand physics is how integral part physics is in understanding biology. All the basic molecules in biology, such as if you take DNA, if you take RNA, if you take proteins, all these are only existing because of the physical properties. And in addition, we are able to, the scientists in the biology are only able to understand all the properties and then trying to develop drugs only because of knowing a proper physics of them, how they are arranged. For example, structure is a very important component of all the proteins. Only if you know the structure of the proteins, then you can know the proper function and you can develop several drugs for them. So, all the physical concepts such as microscopy, NMR, X-ray crystallography, etc., and different spectroscopy technique, all these are only to understand biology better. And only then we are able to understand the biomolecules better and then either change or treat according to the requirement is being done in the even in the modern day. And the new age, so that is a basic what I told you before, the biomolecules. And if you see the current generation, the advancements of science, the level of technology has gone to the next level, and they are extremely even far beyond thinking. How physics is being applied. For example, if you assume the neural networks, I think there is a mention about these even in the yesterday's talks by Dr. Y.S. Rao sir. And consider neural networking, or how currently the protein structures are being predicted, and molecular dockings depending upon the structural relations, and even measuring various forms of the electric, magnetic, all these impulses. It's really changing quite fast, and in all this, trust me, physics is such a key component. So having said that, this is like a basic biology. But if you're considering medicine, medical physics is a branch of study, and there are mainly two areas in the field of medical physics. One is called the radiation therapy, and other one is called radiology. So radiation therapy is again mainly it is about treatment. Like using the radiations. I think everybody is aware of cancer treatments that you are using radiation therapy, right? So all this radiation therapy, how much of the dose has to be given, for example, for a patient, what kind of a dose, and all these comes under radiation therapy. So if you see here, dosimetry is the measurement, calculation, and assessment of ionizing radiation dose for the human body. And similarly, brachytherapy is a sealed radiation source that is placed inside or next to the area requiring the treatment. And these therapies are already being effectively used in several cancers such as cervical, prostate, breast cancer, esophageal, and skin cancer, etc. And now I think most of you are aware of radiology, because which is nothing but medical imaging. Several instruments such as MRI, ultrasound, CT, X-ray are used in a daily treatment regime as well. And there are so many instruments which are currently used for different purposes. So what I do now is, this is a basic, and then what I would like to tell is just not telling you that, okay, there is physics in biology and the research. What I would like to do is I would present some interesting physics areas, and I have selected some areas which are latest research, I think mostly which are like 2019 or 2020 published articles, because for me itself, it was very amazing to see to what extent people are trying to understand the biology, and also how much physics is present in understanding of biology. So I think there are biology students as well as the physics students. So that's the reason I try to bring a balance that both of you can at least get some basic concepts about these. So the important point for me is that you understand how much it is implied rather than knowing the complete paper. So I think whoever it is, everybody know that the structure of a cell, right? There are so many organelles if you consider one small cell, and there are so many organelles, and they perform immense number of functions, and there are billions of proteins in this one particular cell, and it is amazing to see how much study has gone in understanding a cell, but still it is only a small portion what we scientists were able to understand. So okay, from 10th class, I think from 8th or something, we study about the cell. But all the faculties, even masters, anybody, what I would like to see is, did you try to understand some basic questions, like how dynamic the cell organelles? You imagine a cell. Do you people think that the cell is always the same, and always the organelles are just stuck something? These are the kind of questions that if we are able to produce from the very younger age, then I think we can truly make great scientists. All the components of the cell, do they just stick, or are they mobile, or is there any kind of design path that they have to travel in same way, or does it depend upon the conditions? These are some fascinating questions. Okay, I think everybody would know that there is a cytoskeleton, of course, and all the organelles are attached to that. But what about some non-organelles, such as the nucleolus? Right? Do they float, or is there anything depending upon their movement that they are implicated in the diseases? These are some fascinating questions, and in order to answer these, I think last year there was a publication on one of such topic, what is called as nucleolar dynamic, and I think everybody know a nucleus, and a small organelle is called a nucleolus. It is not bound to anything. It is kind of a very free. So it is very important because nucleolus is a center for the cellular protein synthesis, because they produce ribosomes. Ribosomes are the cell organelles which produce proteins. And there is this fluid which is surrounding the nucleoli, which is a complex, etc. But just what the scientists have done is they try to understand the organelle dynamics. And in this, it is completely physics applied. And these organelle dynamics are hypothesized to play a very important role in disease conditions. So what they did was, like, there are so many nuclei in the beginning when the cell is kind of growing. As you can see, there are a lot of nuclei. And what happens during the process of the cell development is all these nuclei combine to form one or two big nuclei. And in this paper, what the scientists have observed is that, in the normal conditions, the shape of the nuclei looks like this. But in some kind of the disease conditions, which they try to simulate in the lab in the normal cells, they try to deplete the ATP, which is the energy source. I think everybody knows it. And if you're depleting ATP, the shape and the size of the nuclei are decreased. And also there is the dynamic shape, and as well as the movement also reduces. So what they have observed is that it has a very implication in several diseases such as Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, etc. And they wanted to further understand if this could be to a point which it might be relevant even to the level of diagnostics. Here you are just seeing the nucleoli, but there is a lot of technical difficulty which is involved in order to study to this level. As I said, I'm not presenting the complete paper or technicalities of the paper. The reason is it's a lot of physics, and frankly speaking, I would need at least 2 to 3 days in order to understand the paper properly. Because all the physical aspects of shape, size, and viscosity was measured, and how these nuclei are combining, why they are not moving forward, all such things. So this is one of the interesting paper what I have found, and you can understand nucleus itself is very small, and some small organelle in the nucleus is what they have studied. And similarly, I think everybody know soft matter physics, but you see, soft matter physics is also applied in biology. For example, as I already told you, there is a cell, and in this cell, there is always a liquid and liquid phase separation. And this generates a lot of condensates as well. Like, there are, for example, if there are so many proteins produced in the cell, and there is a lot of thick fluid cytosol, and this creates a kind of a condensate. This condensate is like a small liquid areas. These could be either proteins, peptides, RNA concrete, anything can happen in the cell. And typically, a eukaryotic cell consists of billions of proteins, as I have already mentioned. If you see, each condensate is around 1 to 2 micrometer in diameter, and they hold around million proteins. And these condensates, they interact with each other. They are just not stable, not stagnant. They just are very dynamic, and they just touch and briefly move away, leading to this dynamic interaction. And there are so many biochemical reactions which are also dependent on these dynamic interactions taking place in such condensates. For example, the best example is chromatin organization, or when there is a stress response on the cell. These interactions are even more dynamic. And one such condensate molecule are called P granules, which are nothing but the phase separated liquid droplets. And these P granules are very important. Scientists have found that they are really important in the embryonic development in the C. elegans. This is a worm which is widely studied in biology. And these P granules especially had great implication in the neurodegeneration and in cancers. And if you see, there is this company called the DuPont Therapeutics, which is Boston and Dresden in Boston based in US and Dresden based in Germany. The person Rick Young, he founded this therapeutic company, and I saw that Bayer, which is one of the biggest companies in the field of medicine, invested over 100 million in the company, which assumes the significance of these P granules. For example, this is the structure of a P granule, and these P granules are very dynamic, and they are conducting a lot of research on how these condensates are actually formed, and how they can be used for both diagnosis as well as therapy. So this is a basic interesting areas I thought I would find, and now let's come into the physics. Physics principles, for example, electricity. So let's see about the application of electricity in human body and what are the diagnostic values of it. So I think everybody know that human body is electric, right? It is charged. And why are we charged? Because I think there is a necessity that we have to move, we have to think and perform so many processes. And all these are only because of the electrical stimuli, what is being produced in the body constantly. And these electrical stimuli are produced due to the different electrolytes in the body fluids. Important electrolytes include sodium, chloride, magnesium, calcium, and potassium. And each of these ions are differently distributed and also differently affected in several diseases. And then, if you see the resting potential of different cells and organelles, it is really very different. And I think for those who do not understand resting potential, it is nothing but a static membrane potential of the inactive cell. It's something like a resting at a resting stage. For example, if you see a neuron has a different amount of sodium ions inside and different amounts of sodium in the surrounding environment. So normally a neuron has to be charged and is normally charged, and it is in the negative state. This negative state is mainly because of several kinds of amino acids present. As I told you, the composition differs in the cell, and depending upon the composition, every cell has a particular amount of ions, and thereby it has a different kind of resting potential. For example, inside the neuron has around minus 70 millivolts of resting potential. And because the reason is the ions cannot be just traveling in and out in a free way. The reason is if the ions can just travel in and out very freely, then I think at one point there will be an equilibrium, and then there will be in a resting state of the cell, and this is not good for the body because we have to do some activity. And then, if what happens if the power disturbance in the body? And I think everybody know that there is this electric shock. What happens when you touch electric wire or such high voltages? But within the body, if there is even a slight difference in the electric voltage, for example, 0.5 to 3 milliampere is just produces the tingling sensations, and these different disturbances can cause several conditions like muscle contractions or respiratory paralysis at 30 to 75 milliampere volt directly. And ventricular fibrillation occurs with the high electric charges, and the tissues and organs start burning if there is a high amount of electrical disturbance in the body. So but we cannot tell we should also remember that this bioelectricity is very essential throughout the life, just starting from the stage of the birth. For example, if there is no proper electric signals that are being given to the fetus, it leads to several abnormalities in the embryonic developmental stage. Birth defects occur, and even remodeling is disturbed, and even the way how the tissues, organs grow and regenerate are also different. I think young people should, I think, might be knowing that currently there is also a kind of fitness which gives you a light amount of the shock in order to build up your muscles. I think they do it for 20 minutes or so, so that either if you want to even reduce the weight or increase the weight, this electrical stimulus is being used currently in order to increase or decrease weight, as I have mentioned. So electrical stimulation has a great potential in the human life, in the human life. And then you have to also understand, as I already mentioned, life is nothing but a biochemical enterprise. Even if there has to be a very small movement of a body, it only happens because there is a cell, and it has different kinds of voltage gated channels, some kind of a channels we can assume. These channels have to be opened or closed. And depending upon that only, there is a transcription of the genes. So the genes are kind of expressed or the genes are kind of silenced. All this silencing happens only once there is a change in the voltage. And only once there is a change in the voltage, the transcription of the genes happen. And this is always a continuous circle which keeps a body able to perform several functions. So, but you might think that this is so simple. No, there are so many underlying mechanisms which do take place in such a small time of reaction, and making so many things possible. And as I told, another interesting areas with regarding to the bioelectricity is like one of the scientists, I think in 2017, they have published a paper. What they have done is the importance of electrical stimuli rather than the brain. Even before the brain is formed, and even if you remove the brain, if you remove the brain, for example, the small electrical stimulus is produced in the body, and these in the absence of the brain, it leads to the deformation of several organs. For example, you see with a proper brain how it is, and without the brain how the frog is able to grow. The only factor is that the electrical stimuli is different in these. So here, what the researchers have performed is they have removed the brain at 25 days of embryos, and then they evaluated how the embryo is able to grow. And then these embryos, it is like what they have also found is the theory of electric stimulus in development is that, of course, there are so many neurotransmitters or other signals as they open these voltage gated channels, and this affects the cellular behavior. If without the brain, there is no proper signal for these voltage gated channels. So that is the reason there is no proper signal, and then the formation of the central nervous system is greatly affected. But even in the absence of the brain, if a proper voltage is provided, these abnormalities were seen to be reduced, and there is a proper formation of the embryo. I think there are so many. That is the reason there are so many applications about understanding about the bioelectricity and how it can be used both in diagnosis as well as in therapy. And one of the highest used bioelectric, I think you all know, it is in cardiovascular research, because cardiovascular research, even till date, it accounts for the highest number of deaths in the world, and it leads to the great economic loss in many of the countries. I think had it's around it beats around 100,000 times a day, and it pumps nearly 2,000 gallons of blood per day. And these coronary artery diseases are the leading cause of the deaths. Imagine that there are around 7 million deaths which are caused due to coronary artery failure. And then the two widely known instruments with regarding to the electricity are and cardiology and neurology are ECG and EEG. And ECG is electrocardiogram, and you know that electrodes are placed on the individual, and then they aim to collect the signals from these electrodes, and then depending upon these signals, a person's heart rhythm can be analyzed, and the defects can be recognized. Similar to the ECG, EEG, electroencephalogram, these have a lot of electrodes placed in the brain, and then they are used for the detection of these brain waves. And depending upon the detection of the brain waves, the signals are amplified and displayed, and this can be used to understand how the brain is actually active, and if there are any disease condition, so that they can be properly treated. And I think having understood the number of heart diseases, there is a constant research which is going on if there is any possibility in order to prevent this cardiac arrest or improve the heart function. And out of them, is a totally kind of unique research was the production of the artificial heart. This is a company which has produced it. It's called Aviocor. It's an artificial heart, and scientists have previously thought that this could be really a game changer, as it can be used for increasing the life expectancy up to 1.5 years. And I think the research was conducted on 15 people, where they have replaced the heart completely with the Aviocor heart, and then checked for if it is really efficacy, if it shows total efficacy in functioning as a normal heart. But I saw that it was not so efficient, and the research was abandoned. But I also saw that more than 15 people were given this Aviocor heart, and few people were not able to survive longer. So that is the reason 18 months is not so long. That is the reason it did not gain any further momentum. And you all know that artificial pacemakers are currently being used, which are extremely important for many for many of the heart patients. And then these artificial pacemakers are nothing but the battery-operated small electronic devices which just try to provide some electrical impulse and generate the heartbeat, so that the patients do have enough amount of the energy in order to provide a proper amount of the heartbeat. So these are the two research what I found with regarding to improving heart, but there is really a constant need in order to see if there can be a good alternative for these as well. And next, coming to magnetism in the human body. So likewise, how electricity is present in the human body, magnetism is also a part of the human body. And there is also a concept and an area of science called biomagnetism or biomagnetic biology. What it is, you all know that the magnetic field produced by the living organisms is present, and then they use it for several purposes. For example, different kinds of microorganisms and also some animals use this Earth's magnetic field in order to recognize their way. And many birds, for example, fly thousands and thousands of kilometers only depending upon the magnetic nature of the magnetic nature. And all this study of magnetic biology is only because of the ability of the organism to recognize the magnetic fields. And if you see the magnetism in the human body, you see like human body is an electrical enterprise, magnetism is also present. And you see the different magnetic fields that are present across the body, like lung particles for skeletal muscles, they have different amount of the magnetic power. And you see the heart produces electricity, and this generates magnetic field around. And even compared to the brain, heart is the most powerful generator of the electromagnetic energy in the human body. And it is over 60 times greater than the electrical energy, electrical activity generated by the brain. And it's interesting to know that one person's heart signal can affect another person's brain waves, and that the heart-brain synchronization can occur between two organisms or two people when they interact. With respect to this, there is an interesting research what I have found, which was done, I think, in 2017-15. So what the scientists have seen and wanted to understand this electric and brain wave of heart and the brain is that they have taken a boy and a dog. They have first normally measured the heart rhythms of the boy and the dog over here when they are in the separate room. For example, the name of the dog is Mabel, and the name of the boy is Josh. So when they are in separate rooms, you see these are their respective heart rhythms. And when the boy entered into the room, he loves the dog so much. And when both of them enter, when they are in a single room, you see how synchronous these heart waves are. And again, when the boy has left the room, you see how unsynchronized these waves are with respect to the dog. So what they have seen is that as I already said, the heart waves can be captured by the brain, and this might lead to a synchronous movement. And here you can see, it's probably a great affection which reduces the stress of the animal because it is together with the person. I think this is something kind of a love between both of them, which is making them happy. And if you consider magnetism like electricity, so I would tell that electric devices, so many of the electrical devices used in the diagnosis are the previous generation ones, and now many of the devices are using the principle of magnetism. Even for measuring the heartbeat or the brain activity, muscular activity, neuronal activity, so many things. And there are so many of the devices which are currently being developed using the principle of magnetism. And in these all diagnostic devices, main component being used is a squid, which is superconducting quantum interference device. I don't know much about it. I'll just read for the purpose of the presentation. It is a very sensitive magnetometer which are used to measure extremely subtle magnetic field. Because I think you have seen in my earlier slides that the amount of the magnetic signals in the Teslas are really, really low, which cannot be actually detected with the normal devices. So I think this led to the discovery or invention of these highly sensitive magnetometer called squids, and these are able to measure the electromagnetic fields as low as 5 attoteslas. 5 attoteslas is nearly 5 into 10 to the power of minus 18 teslas. And some process in animals produce such a small magnetic field between 10 to the power of 9 to 10 to the power of 6 teslas. So these devices are so sensitive in such a way that even in the diseased condition, if the amount of the magnetic field produced is even so small, they are still able to detect it. And I think these squids mainly use the principle of Josephine effect, which is a phenomenon of the supercurrent, the current that flows indefinitely long without any voltage applied across a device. And these are called the Josephine junctions. And these Josephine junctions consist of two or more superconducting conductors coupled by a weak link. And this Josephine junction effect, I saw that they are really currently used in many applications, including in the quantum phenomena. And for this, he has been awarded Nobel Prize in the year 1973. So one of the instruments, what I told I would be discussing about is magnetocardiography. So as I already mentioned, the severity of the cardiovascular diseases which is taking place in the current world. And And so the magnetic, what is the principle is that the cardiac electrical activity produces the voltage. And this produces also the magnetic field. And the magnetic field is recorded and then checked for the disturbances in the cardiogram. Uh, these magnetocardiographies are the advanced instruments because unlike the ACGs, they are not affected by the tissues or the body fluids, and thereby they provide even more accurate information. And other advantages of magnetocardiography that they are being used currently, I think, in advanced countries, I don't know if they're used in India as of now, is that there is no radiation and there is no invasiveness, there is no injection, or you don't need to hold breaths. And then it's really fast. It takes less than 10 minutes and you get good qualitative and quantitative results, and it can be used to test any number of times, and you don't need to even use any kind of electrodes like you use it in the ECG. And this data and the data is really complementary and to the data of CT, MRI, echo, spec, etc. And many diseases which are unable to be detected by ECG were able to be detected by magnetocardiography, such as arrhythmia, and even it can be used to diagnose the fetal cardiac disorders and then screening of the patients for ischemic heart disease. Due to such several of such applications, magnetocardiography is widely being used as an alternative compared to that of the ECG. So here you see, without any kind of touching of electrodes or anything, there is the magnetocardiogram, which measures all these signals of magnetic signals. So this coil or the split guns is placed above the heart of the patient, and then it operates. The sensitive magnetic fields are being able to detect, and then all these points, for example, are collected. The information is collected from 36 different points of the cardiogram, and then they're all clubbed together, and they come into conclusion depending upon different color patterns what are given. And I think there are some controls which are used for this purpose, so that they know what is a normal rhythm, and thereby they give you the results. And other important application as of currently modern world which we are using is magnetomyograph. It is nothing but the usage of the magnetic devices for knowing the muscular activity. They are used to record. Especially this is used in the sports field, and also for the people who are suffering from different conditions such as epilepsy or the spinal cord lesions or traumatic nerve injury. Always. So these also use the same squids, and they also can be used for detecting very slow currents, which are used to measure, you see, in 10 to the power of minus 12 in the picos or the femtoteslas of the magnetic field. And there are many devices which are being developed in order to produce certain amount of the electrical activity so that normal movements can be restored. And then similar to the ECG, there is also magnetoencephalography. So magnetic encephalography is for neuroimaging technique and to record the brain activity. And this also uses the scripts, and this is even more advanced than the ECG because it can be used for locating several abnormalities, as well as in the experimental setup with just recording brain activity also. And this is so precise that it can be used to resolve which are even precise than 10 milliseconds or even faster, for which I think the traditional techniques such as fMRI, all these cannot detect. And the magnetoencephalogram is also used to measure the changes in the blood flow, and it can be used. These blood flow changes at several hundreds of the milliseconds. So the readings of these magnetoencephalograms were reported to be extremely accurate, and different areas such as auditory, somatosensory, and the motor areas functions can be accurately detected using this magnetoencephalogram. And these are also used to detect the cognitive processes, and even used at the time for the fetuses and the newborn readings how the working of the brain is present in these fetuses. And of course, they are widely used for multiple sclerosis, epilepsy, tumor, as well as Alzheimer's patients to detect the changes in the activity of the brain. And now I would like to focus more, or I would like to focus on astrobiophysics. I think you all might have heard about these unique experiments or research which is taking place with respect to astrobiophysics. One is NV-Hub research. NASA, I think last year or before last year, they have made an advertisement that they would be paying around $19,000 for the people who are ready to just stay in bed. But it is not a normal bed, but it is a bed which is like a centrifuge, and it would be continuously rotating. And these experiments were done by NASA in association with German space science research, German space science research. And just to add more about it, so what happens is, the scientists want to study what is the influence of the gravity, and is it really possible for the life to exist in different planets or on the moon or in the outer space? Because there is a lot of space competition going on, and then they want to study if how long the humans can also stay in the outer space, if it is a reality that one day there will be a journey to the moon or into the Mars, and you can stay there for some days. And so so it is very important that before all such possibilities come into reality, there has to be a proper investigation with respect to the astronaut health and their performance in the space. So that is the reason all these research are being conducted on how the gravity affects, and also what are the measures that have to be taken if there are any negative effects of microgravity. And especially, as I already mentioned, even there are now space missions to Mars, Venus, all the planets, and it is very important to know how these principles affect the life of human body in the space. And this was a study it's called the EGBRACER study, and this was a 60-day study, and this came to end, of course, in December 19. I think the results are available as well, or I think still they are analyzing a lot of data with respect to that. And apart from this, this NV research from NASA is also focused on several other parameters such as vision impairment and also intracranial pressure, because many of the astronauts do have the effects of the pressure in their brain, which is quite risky. And there is a lot of risk in the visual impairment, and hypertension occurs after the space flight. And also, because of these gravity effects, there is a shift in the fluidics before and after the journeys, and then other parameters such as how the proteins are changed within how your body totally changes. This would be best described that. And all these are highly active in areas. I think the thing is that maybe we will not be able to know this properly unless and until we really go into the space research centers and see them. So these are actually great opportunities if people are interested in such space research. And in order to understand these, so instead of the 60 individuals which were taken for the NV rehab, there are some scientists who have also taken it to the other level. Like first, we wanted to try to understand in the mice. If we are able to understand in the mice, then I think at least basic views can be then used upon the human beings. So what they have done is, these mice are called mighty mice, and what they have done is they have sent some mice, around 40 mice were launched in the SpaceX machine, I think in last year, in last year. And then they came back, of course, this year, and then they have studied these mice. So before sending these mice, scientists already have some candidates which they think might be very beneficial in preventing the bone loss. As I told, out of several effects, muscle mass loss and the loss of the bone mass has been a great problem for the astronauts. And in order to prevent this, they had some candidates which are myostatin and activin A signaling. But actually, compound name is called, this is the name of the compound, ACVR2B. We don't know what this compound is because it's secret at this point of time. So this acts on myostatin and activin A signaling in the bones, and this prevents the bone loss. Just for an example, you see, these are the mice which were not given the injection of this particular drug, and you see the size. The size is very small, And these are the mice which have received the injection, and the size of these mice are big. And that's the reason they were called the mighty mice. And here, if you see the bone, for example, in the untreated, the femur bones of these mice is very distorted, and the fibers are also very thin, kind of. Whereas when the drug is given to the mice, the structure is preserved, and there is a very less damage to the bones. And these are the another vertebra of the same. Like, without this, you see a lot of gaps, which implies that there is a degeneration of the bone mass of the astronauts. The bone mass is preserved, and it's also better in the bug. So this is a kind of achievement, and probably I think after several other studies and analysis, I think probably this signaling mechanism could be targeted in order to prevent the bone loss for the astronauts. And if you just think the question, why all this research? Billions and billions of dollars is being spent on different kinds of these researchers. And this is not just for astronomers, as I already mentioned, because in the coming years, space travel will be a reality. And if you ask for the statistics, as of August 2019, there has been 218 spacewalks which have been carried out from the space station, which orbits the Earth 16 times. And the cost of this is over $150 billion. And recently, NASA has even been trying to defray this one, offering the visit for the space station. I think the cost which was mentioned in the website is around $35,000 a night, which is nearly 25 lakh rupee INR. So if people are interested, they can go to the moon for a day, they can go to the space for a day. And I think if the drugs are also developed, they can be safely taken to the space and then safely brought. So that is the reason there is a lot of research which is taking place. And I think you are also aware of this, studying that there is a lot of exobiology research. And what is exobiology? It's nothing but exo is outside of the universe, is outside, right? So it is like, what is the origin? What is the evolution? What is the distribution? Are there any living creatures in anywhere of the universe? People are really trying to study all these, and then how can we adapt if there is a future chance of going into such planets where there is a feasible environment to live. So there are so many aspects which are being done, and for this purpose, there are so many instrument developmental programs which are being performed. For example, you would have seen the centrifuge, what I have shown before, and all these devices are being also produced, and there are so many opportunities if you can try to check what are the areas, and then depending upon this, if you can try to suggest a plan or hypothesize a plan about it. And then also, how the planets can be protected by external threats is also a plan, even though you don't believe it. Like you see in the movies, if there are some other aliens from others attacking, how can we protect the Earth? This is also an active research, although you don't hear it very often. And also, protecting the solar system bodies from the contamination by the Earth. I think even the space is getting a lot contaminated with a lot of space debris, is what they call, and how to even prevent the accidents from these, and protecting the Earth from other forms and or from our own devices in the space is also a very active research area. And okay, so you can just visit the NASA Astrobiology Institute for all such interesting research, and try to accordingly develop your ideas or then in your careers. And I think this is the latest news, what everybody would have known in the newspapers, that there is also possibility of life in Venus, which is a new destination now. I think Mars is being already studied so much, and so now it is Venus. And scientists have discovered phosphine gas on Venus. So why there is so much of talk like phosphine? What is phosphine gas? Is normally it is produced by the living organisms on Earth, and it is a toxic gas, and it cannot be produced in the normal in the unnatural ways, because non-biological sources cannot even make 1/10 of the amount of the phosphine. It has to be either industrially produced or else it has to be produced by life forms. And that is the reason scientists have just found I think they found around the signature of 20 phosphine molecules in every billion particles that they have tested on the Mars, and they could detect this itself is so much of higher amount. And that is the reason this phosphine indicates that there could be a possibility of life on Venus. Just to let you know that the day temperatures are greater than 460 degrees Celsius, and there are sulfuric acid clouds and very inhospitable environment for the human survival on Venus. But how did this living form came, whether they are microorganisms or any other life forms, is under research. And now definitely there will be so many space missions which countries will be aiming in Venus to understand life on Venus and the possibility. And I think even India is planning a space mission to Venus, which is called Shukrayan. And I don't know if you're aware or not, Suprayan 1, with respect to this, ISRO have offered many of the Indian universities, if they are interested to produce any, generate some kind of a machines like satellites or any devices, which they wanted to send it to the space along with the Suprayan mission, so that the science payload can be sent and then they can study. So it is like, ISRO and student cooperation. And you might all be aware that recently even to the mission to the moon and other space missions, ISRO is sending several satellites from the students of the universities. And then this announcement of opportunity has already been notified in 2017, and as of December 2019, 16 Indian and 7 international payloads have been shortlisted. And in future missions, there are several possibilities from ISRO and several space agencies. If you are able to produce particular instrument, they are really ready to send. And ISRO is offering so many training programs as well. And if you have an idea of one particular kind of a satellite that you wanted to study, they are even providing you the guidance. And so these images I wanted to show is like, people think that these are the kind of homes or what you call ISS, which would be taking place in the Venus in the future. These are called the HAVOCs, which are high altitude Venus operational concept, the Venus floating cities, which NASA plans. And now I would like to mention or discuss about nanotechnology. I think this is a future of medicine and also every field, literally speaking. Why nanotechnology? Why nanotechnology? Because nano, as all of you might know, this is like 10 to the power of -9 size. And already it is a multi-billion-dollar by this point of time, and by 2024 the nanotechnology is expected to exceed over $125 billion market. The reason for this is nanotechnology, the size is extremely small, and then versatility of the applications. Literally you can produce anything in nano, and technology is fast developing towards such a direction that small and effective is what the say is. And the mode of delivery, because it is extremely small, you can deliver even to the smallest of areas, especially in the human body. Even if you have to cross the cells or the membranes, this can be possible. And the cost, depending on, because you don't need to produce a high amount, maybe the initial technology might be expensive, but with the competition, I think the cost of the nanotechnology devices, deliveries, or drugs, everything should be coming down as we use the normal equipment at this point of time. And also because the size is so small, as an invasion, especially in case of the surgeries or the drug deliveries, is extremely specific. And this is one of the, these are few qualities which is making nanotechnology to rule the world in the next generation. I think a few examples of how much nanotechnology has been developed in the field of the medicine are, for example, there is I think one of the first devices is called the pill cam, which in 2001, this is nothing but a small camera, nano camera, which can be just swallowed, and then this can be used for the clinical procedures. And later it came another pill called the smart pill, and this smart pill, like the pill cam, is used in so many surgeries. And just see that the pill cam has already been used in surgical procedures. And this smart pill is used to record the internal images, especially these are currently used for gastrointestinal tract of the medical diagnosis, because in small areas such as small intestine, you cannot really see what are the faults, or you cannot introduce the device because it is very complicated. Even to such a can take the pictures and record the video also is possible. So that is the reason these materials have been taking center stage at the research, especially with respect to the gastrointestinal tract. And the primary use, as I told you, is the small intestine, and which endoscopy such as colonoscopy cannot be used. And apart from surgical procedures, smart pills are also used in order to detect unexplained bleeding and also abdominal pains. What is responsible responsible for abdominal pain? If there are any callings, or if there are any polyps which are and such as traditional colonoscopy, even like ulcers, tumors, all these can be detected using this smart pill technology. And another device, a nano device, is called the vibrant capsule, and this is also like a small capsule, which is actually this is currently under patent, currently under clinical trials. It has finished the phase 2 clinical trials, and the purpose of this is mechanically induce the peristaltic movement, the bowel movement in the gastrointestinal tract, so that it can help in treating the constipated patients without any side effects. And also, this is used to stimulate the intestinal walls and induce the natural peristaltic activity. This is chemical free, and it can be easily washed out of the body with the normal bowel movement. So it is very safe to use, and this is very small. So that is the reason it is expected to finish the clinical trial 3 also soon. And with regarding to the nanobots, so nanobots are also small nano robots, is what you can imagine. These small nanobots are used in the eye surgeries. So what they do is small size helical robots. These are the small nanobots. These small helical robots are introduced into the vitreous of the eye using a needle, as you see here. And these are magnetic kind of particles, and using the magnetic field or nanopropellers, they swim to the site. They are, of course, directed by the doctors. They swim to the site of the retina, where they can be used to clear some clots in the eye, or some plaques, or some kind of tissue overgrowth, all such things. So these are expected to be site. These are expected to reach the site of interest, and also at the point of desired point, they can release either drugs sometimes, or even they can clear the tissue. And this could be used in the future. These are also kind of devices which will be used in future so often. And then especially the first research area where nanotechnology has been greatly looked after is for the drug delivery. So in case of the drug delivery, because of its size, scientists aim to use exactly what is the amount of the concentration required for that particular site. Because now you use at least little bit higher doses, because it has to be taken up by the body, it has to be spread, and in order to prevent any loss of activity of the drug, generally the dosage might be little higher. But if you see with the nanos, what you can do is nanoparticles can be used to control the delivery, as well as to release exactly at the site where it has to reach, so that the active ingredients can be minimally used. And nanoparticles are also they are also kind of charged particles, and they can also be degraded by the body or rejected by the body. So the main targets are how to protect these nanoparticles, and these nanoparticles should be reaching that particular site and should deliver the drug according at where it is necessary. So scientists have developed such a kind of micelles where small capsules surrounding these nanoparticles are produced, and the active ingredient is produced into the nanoparticle, and then they are delivered to the site of specific site, and they are also controlled in such a way that they release the drug only at that site, and also at the time when it is required. So this is a very active research area, and there are a lot of breakthroughs which are currently happening in with regarding to this field. And nanotechnology is not just in the health, as I already told you. Nanophysics, you can tell. This is also mainly used in agriculture as well. For example, you see the application of nanotechnology in agriculture. Because of all the qualities like precise and then size, they are used in various fields. For example, in the precise farming, where exactly nano nutrients can be used, and also scientists want to record how the nutrients are being used, whether is it a proper site, and even in case of the crop protection, to produce the nanopesticides, because they can be they need not be used in very high quantities, and they can be targeted precisely on the on particular type of insects or pests. And also, I think I think the transgenic crops, what are produced already, GM crops, you say. And I think in the future they wanted to even more precisely. They wanted to develop such crops so that food production can be enhanced with all these nanonutrients. But I am a strong supporter of the natural kind of the vegetation, and nanobiotechnology can be used even to deliver natural ingredients, what you call biofertilizers, also to these crops, so that they are even more safer, and they can be used effectively for good crop production, also protecting the crops against many conditions. And also other one, it's also other area of nanotechnology, which has been widely studied. It's called agrivoltaics. Agrivoltaics is nothing but agriculture, and voltaics, nothing but the solar panels. So people are trying to combine agriculture with the solar energy. So they want to produce effective nano-related agrivoltaics, so that they can be used for sharing of solar energy by both solar panels as well as the crops. Because once there is a saturation, the plants do not perform the photosynthesis. So what they do is, in order to prevent all the rest of the energy from the plants, because only during the photosynthesis plants take up the carbon dioxide, right? And during the other fields, there is a lot of evaporation of the water from the plants, and also the energy from the fields. So that is the reason they want to use this agrivoltaics, so that the energy can be managed effectively. And a lot of countries, including India, are using agrivoltaics. And there are also other sub area called dynamic agrivoltaics, which also uses a tracking system of how much amount of the light that the plant have used, or how much amount it is required for the plant, and then accordingly open or close these these solar panels on the top, so that solar panels can be effectively used to control and also produce the agriculture. And what I have read is, by using such agrivoltaics, there is a huge improvement in the crop production and also the plant performance. At least I think there was around 30 to 40% increase of the crop production, just by change in the alignment of the solar panels. And depending upon the season, for example, in the winter seasons in the Europe, there has to be huge amount of sunlight that is required for the plants, because normally you don't see a lot of sun during the winters. And all these factors together, agrivoltaics is a coming up field, and they can be very effective in tackling the food production issues in the world. As I already mentioned, the advantages of these agrivoltaics, the grape farmers were able to profit 15 times higher than reported, and the cucumber and lettuce were able to save around 29% because of this evaporation of the fruit, or even the plant performance also. And 30% increase in economic value for the farmers have been obtained using this agrivoltaic system. And one of the papers what I have read about this one was published by MIT University, Lucknow, in 2007, where they have done some studies on the vineyards in India by using this photovoltaics. And another other interesting research, and this would be the future also, is like now nanoscience is also gone to next level to produce another area where you also study sub-nanoparticles, which are called SNCs, sub-nanoparticles. And these sub-nanoparticles are studied using the molecules called dendrimer molecules. And these dendrimer molecules are less than the size of the nanometer, like very small nanoparticles such as 0.5 nanometers to 2 nanometers. And these dendrimers are highly selected because they have very distinct properties, and they are expected to be as excellent catalyzers in electrochemical reactions and also during the quantum phenomena. And they can be used in several future applications, even including the quantum devices. And all this research was possible using surface-enhanced Raman spectroscopy to study these sub-nanoparticles. And as I just want to mention about dendrimers, because I found this is very interesting, and this could be a technology what you can sort of. So these dendrimers are, structurally perfect molecules. Dendrimers is nothing but dendron, which is like a tree-like component, as you can see over here. And these are structurally perfect, which is normally difficult with many of the molecules. Structurally perfect molecules are highly symmetrical and also spherical compounds. It has a core, it has an inner shell, and it has an outer shell. And then these dendrimers are used in order to conjugate with other chemical species. For example, as I already told you, even if it is a nanoparticle or a nanodrug, these are normally rejected by the body. So it has to be properly packed so that you give a natural kind of touch to the nanoparticles or the dendrimer molecules, so that they are not rejected by the body. Thereby, then you can do whatever you want with regarding to the nanoparticles. And this is not simple. This is very challenging. So these dendrimer molecules are found to be one of such molecules which can be very stable, and they can be conjugated with different chemical species, and they can be used as detecting agents as well. And they are used, as of now, they are used as affinity ligands and targeting compounds, and also the radioligands. And they are also being used for imaging reagents and also in pharmaceutically active compounds. So they are used in drug delivery, sensor technology as well, and also for producing nanoparticles. And these dendrimers are especially favorable in the drug delivery, because one of the highly sought out research area is drugs crossing the blood-brain barrier. Normally, the drugs don't reach the brain because brain is very, very tightly packed, and they don't allow the entry of the substances into the brain. 98% of the small molecule drugs which are presently there do not cross the blood-brain barrier, and 100% of the large molecule drugs do not cross the BBB. And it is such a challenging field in order to allow temporary opening so that the drug enters and then close. Because if you are not closing the brain barrier properly, then many of the immune-related stuff goes on, and it is not at all good for the brain. So these dendrimer molecules are shown to cross the blood-brain barrier, and then they normally need just 1,000-fold lower dose than the normal drugs what we are currently used. So these are the two qualities which they think they have a huge potential to deliver drugs even for the case of other disease also. And I saw that there is a company in Australia. I also visited the website. It's called the Star Pharma, and they're completely dendrimer based company. They have so many products with regarding to these, and with regarding to the dendrimers, either in the stage of clinical trials or already approved. And they have this dendrimer molecules called SPL7013, which is a Astro-biosystems sodium. And this is actually already approved to treat the bacterial vaginosis and also spread many other diseases in many other countries. And currently, they are also developed some product in order to test COVID-19 as an antiviral nasal spray also against COVID-19. They already tested, and I think, I don't know the results as of now. And this company has been awarded the grant of $1 million for this development of COVID-19 nasal spray development. I think it's currently in the clinical trial, if I'm not wrong. So apart from that, I think there are so many advantages with the nanotechnology, right? And people who think that it is completely advantage are completely wrong. The reason is, as the technology develops, there are both pros and cons. We have seen several advantages of nanotechnology, but there can be careers where you can focus on treating the disadvantages as well. For example, there might be a huge amount of the nano waste which might be generated. and these has to be addressed. And how you have to threaten, because the nanoparticles are so small. If they enter into the human body, the unwanted nanoparticles, how can they be treated? And also, if the nanotechnology is developed, probably there will be a huge impact on the job market, because all these devices can replace many macro devices itself. So you have to be extremely either knowledgeable in this field as well, or else you maybe you will lose your job, kind of. And definitely one highly area where people have to work on is it compromises the safety. I think tomorrow I will be presenting you some interesting nanotechnology related research in regarding to the neuroscience, and how people are now even thinking to capture your memories, and then brain function can be controlled, kind of. So all this would be the next issues, and this could be the interesting area how you can prevent these. And then I think these are the most areas what I have talked about. I think I did not bore you so much with regarding to all the instrumentation, but now I also would like to now mention some more interesting areas what are happening across the world. So international fusion experiments. I don't know if you all know it. If you all know, I'm the ignorant person about this. So it's called the ITER, which is called the way in Latin. Okay, this is one of the most ambitious and one of the most expensive projects across the world, which is currently going across the world. This is from the US, and this is a project which is collaboration of 35 countries. And what they did was they wanted to build the world's largest tokamak. This tokamak is nothing but a magnetic fusion device that produces carbon-free source of energy, the same principle using what happens in the sun. Okay, and this is the largest magnetic confinement plasma physics experiment which is in use. You see, this is a tokamak which is placed in this. And the aim of this project is to produce 500 megawatts of output for 50 megawatts of input of energy. And if you imagine, the cost of this project is over $12 billion, and which is equal to almost 1 lakh crores. This is considered to be one of the most expensive experiments in the world. And if you're interested, you can go through this experiment. The reason why I'm presenting these interesting research are, if you are good at physics, or if you have big dreams, these are the areas where you can really target. You go through these websites, you read about this, and if you have ideas or if you have expertise on such particular field, do not hesitate to contact them. And I think if you're worth, you would be in such places. And the other one, I think everybody knows about this, the quantum computer, but I don't know if you are really aware of what a quantum computer is. And but trust me, this is going to be the future within the next 50 years probably. But I think the technology has already started, and the two companies which are in the race to develop the best of these are IBM and Google and NASA together. This system, what I have shown here, is a IBM Q System 1. So this is a computer. What you do the calculation with the quantum, applying the quantum physics in place. And for the biology students, probably what is a quantum physics or what is quantum computation? So quantum is a minimum amount of any physical thing needed to interact with something else, usually referring to the smallest units of energy or matter. I don't want to talk so much about this because I'm not right person to do this. But what I want you people to do is there is an excellent video which is present in the IBM website about this. Even a kids can understand that. So I want you to go to the website if you're interested. But what I wanted to tell you is that the quantum supremacy is currently being worked out by all these companies, whoever wants to achieve the high supremacy. And it is like, the quantum computers can make your processors, it's like 3,600 times more than this faster compared to the current day computers. But of course, because it's in the very basic stage, the estimated cost of the first quantum computer is around $15 million. In some reports, I have even seen that it is going to be $1 billion, but I wanted to be in a little lesser side, so I saw it's around $15 million. And they assume that it is most beneficial in drug discovery, cybersecurity, finance, or investment, healthcare. But as I told you, sometimes if it is used in drug discovery and if it is used in the neurological research, then I think they will even capture your memories. So I think, of course, a lot of ethical guidelines will be there, but I think I would be against of using the quantum for any kind of neuroscience related equipment or device. And also, what we think is that quantum computers, even the the first stage quantum computers, using this, you can measure, you can calculate the integers or factors which cannot be even dreamt of calculating in the modern computers. It would take billions of years for the normal computers to calculate calculate what quantum computer can do with regard to the present generation. And then, as I told you, the basics, I think normally, the computers, they just store and change the information. And the current computers use the bit system, 0 and 1 binary systems, right? But the quantum computers uses the quantum mechanical properties to manipulate the information. And the information, what is used in the quantum computer is called the qubits. I think currently there is 5 qubits or 10 qubits of quantum bits which they are able to do. And the problem is, in order to maintain these qubits, there has to be extremely cold condition, which I would discuss in the next slide. And that is the reason you see a huge machine, because all these quantum properties, in order to be stable, they have to be maintained in the cold. Yeah, and the main mechanical properties of the quantum properties which exist are the superimposition, entanglement, and interference. As I told you, I would really advise you, if you're interested into this. It's an amazing field. If you want to know more about it, just visit the IBM official website, what I have given here, so that you will be knowing more better. So you see, this is a complete quantum computer, what I have shown you before. There are so many parts. All these parts are mainly in order to cool down the chip, chip which is for processing. And for example, I don't know if it is very clear or not. So for example, this is the part 1, which is called the qubit signal amplifier. And this is the amplifier which is cooled down to around minus 269 degrees Celsius, which is nearly around 4 Kelvin. And then this is called the input microwave lines, and then this is called the superconducting coils, and then these are the cryogenic insulators, and number 5, yeah, and this one is a quantum amplifiers, a cryocone shield, and finally the mixing chamber. All these, I think here you would be having a chip kind of over here or here, and all these, see that the temperature is so low. In this mixing chamber, if you see, the temperature is around minus 271 degrees centigrade, which means the cold is even more colder than the outer space. All this protect the signal, and these are used to read and making the computation. So there are so many opportunities in this field, because if you know the coding and if you're interested in coding, IBM offers a quantum circuit using the Python, and this information is also available on the website. And if you know Python, you can also do some coding. This is a free source available, and you can be directly connected to the IBM server and see what is the coding and what can be done. And if you are able to really improve some things, I'm definitely sure it's a great opportunities to work at. And yes, and also if you are faculty people and if you are aiming for the higher careers, what I have seen is IBM Quantum Research Program is designed to help the members of the quantum science community, and with access to more systems, and they are providing you all this to be access that. But the requirement is that at least you should be able to publish one paper in the field of quantum information. And I think you can aim for this also if you are very good at physics and then they're in the normal college, but you have aspiring high. And there is a video, and as I already told you, Google and NASA are working together, and I think IBM is far superior at this point of time than Google and NASA. I'm not sure about it. Please check, but these three are highly working on it. And I think finally, this is the final research area what I will be talking about. We have seen about quantum computing, right? This is about using quantum mechanics and producing a huge machine. But at the other end, there is also DNA, which is considered to be the future of the information storage. Because you see a big quantum computer, on the other side you see DNA. DNA is very, very dense and very, very small. And it is 1 million it is like 1 million times denser than any of the magnetic or other materials which are currently used. And this is so easy to replicate, and DNA is extremely stable. I think many of the biology people know it, how stable DNA is, and it takes very less time, maybe 1 hour or 1.5 hours to replicate the DNA into several millions of copies. And it can be very stable. I think, even now you see some paleontology research where scientists are able to study the fossils, and this is a kind of amber where during the course of the evolution, some creatures are just stuck to the amber and they are still preserved as well as studied. And scientists can take this fossil and then check about the DNA and see to which species it is belong, etc. And the information can be easily stored. And you imagine the space. It is so cost effective that the storage device, if at all is successful, it has if 1 gram of DNA can be used to store around 215 petabytes. 250 petabytes, for your easy understanding, is equal to 250 million gigabytes of data. Just 1 gram of DNA. So this is a technology which I think will have a great future, and Microsoft is, I think, the leader of this technology. I think in the 2018 there was a paper with regard to this, that scientists were able to also perform the computing using the DNA. So this is the first fully automated system to store as well as retrieve the information. I think you all people know that currently in the computers you use 0 and 1 as a binary system. But in case of the DNA is made up of A, T, G, C, like 4 chemical compounds. And these are used for the coding now, and different permutations and combinations are one which are used to code different. And this team of Louis, Sayce, and Kerry were successfully able to encode the word hello in the snippets of the fabricated DNA, and then they were able to convert it back to the signal to digital using a fully automated end-to-end system. So scientists aim at producing these synthetic DNA molecules, and then they were able to also successfully store over 1 gigabyte of the readable information in various forms of media, audio, video, etc. And this was published in Nature Biotechnology 2018, as I mentioned. The quantum computer and the DNA technology is still a long way to go, but this will be the future of the technology, and I think it would be great to be part of this. And I think in conclusions, I try to explain you as many as fascinating areas of science which are extremely good for your careers as well as money. And and I think you will be working on your passions, having seen all these great areas and how much physics is implied in biotechnology or biology. And in my point of view, of course, tomorrow I'll be telling more about the careers, but I think astrophysics, quantum computing, or also memory devices of DNA, all this has a great future. And trust me, to all the students and even the faculties who are aiming high, there are unlimited opportunities. And you have to start doing some kind of a research in your labs, and you will have a great future for sure. We are not getting opportunities only because we are not searching properly. And if you want to earn high, as Dr. Abdul Kalam said, and it's a great quotation to start the seminar with, you should not dream big, you also should act accordingly. And with this, I would like to conclude, and then what my tomorrow tales would be. Like today, we have seen different areas of physics. Like similarly, tomorrow I will present some applications of physics, such as sound, sound in medicine and what are its applications, biophysics and neuroscience, optics, especially microscopy, and COVID innovations, socialpreneurs, higher education in Germany, fellowships and scholarships, and key to career. With this, I would like to conclude my talk, and I would like to sincerely thank the principal, Ma'am Jessica Quadras, for accepting me to be a speaker, and also Dr. Littleflower Ma'am, who have invited me. And I would also like to thank Lasina Ma'am, who has given me the first opportunity last time to talk about COVID, and I think this is the second opportunity because of her. And I also wanted to thank all my chaperone team members, my teachers, friends, and family for the support, and even the members of my Pharma Centrum in Frankfurt, because I have not gone to the lab and then staying here to give my present, and they are very flexible about it. So thanks a lot. I hope I did not crush your brains. And what I would like to ask is, please try to provide your genuine feedback so that it can help me to improve in my future presentations. You can really share it very truly, and because I want to always improve. So with this, I would like to thank, and I would be very happy to take any questions regarding to these aspects. And thank you.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Rajkumar.
Yeah.
Let us see.
Ma'am, should I stop sharing now?
Just we will give 2 minutes time. If they have any doubts or any questions, just we will look whether they could ask.
Yes.
Yeah. So some questions are there on their behalf. Let me read out. Sudeep Patil, he has asked, are magnetic and electric field produced by various organs like heart, etc., or perpendicular to each other?
Perpendicular to each other, ma'am, I think I will not be the expert to answer that if they are level of perpendicularity. Sorry.
Because in communications, we say electric and magnetic fields are perpendicular to each other. He was a bit curious to know about it. In biology,
I don't know. I don't know about it.
Yeah. Sir, another sir.
Yeah.
Yes. One more time. Just. Yes. Another question one person has asked from Grassroots Director of Photography. But his question, even I am unable to exactly understand what it might be. If it is that fast, why don't we use a type of shared code and give access to high-speed database, maybe computer-based? Maybe we could find the answer.
I didn't understand that. Can you please repeat that one more time?
Even I couldn't understand the question, sir.
Okay.
If it's that fast, why don't we use a type of shared code and give access to high-speed database?
Okay. I think it is with regarding to the quantum computers. So yes, it is high speed. And if you want to know more information, please try to visit the IBM website. As I told you, it is very basic stage, and there is all the information with regarding to this in IBM website. Whether there is a shield, whether I think it is with regarding to quantum computers. If that is the case, please try to visit IBM website. It is very complicated for me to get the complete picture of quantum computing. I know the basic, but if you want to have the complete description, I think please visit the IBM website for it. Or I can send you some papers if you want about it.
Yeah. And many have asked for the recording of your talk and yesterday's talk to be shared with them. Definitely we will share them. I think you would permit us to share your PPT also with them. We will definitely. Yeah. Because information and expertise to be shared. So we will share it.
Sure. I don't have any issue.
Okay. Excellent, sir. I think if they have any more questions, they can share it with us tomorrow. Also, we can ask those questions to you. Yes. Then Dr. Rajkumar, shall we conclude today?
Yes, ma'am. I'm happy if there are no further questions.
Dr. Rajkumar, your talk was so exciting. It appeared to be a journey for us, right? We just didn't feel that already 1.5 hours just flew away from us. It was like a journey. You just took us for a journey from micro world to macro world. You started your talk with the cell and took us to the space. You explained physics applications in healthcare, energy production, and the latest trends of research in physics in the other areas, in other fields, especially particularly biomedical fields, everything. We really felt that we stood under the information fall.
Thanks a lot, ma'am.
Really, our mind is filled with a lot of information. Truly, your talk presented an interdisciplinary approach and provided a lot of insights.
Yeah.
Generally, there is a saying, a cow on the bank of a river finds the other bank is greenery. Really, we feel the same experience today. We teach physics, our own disciplines, and we try to have more and more understanding in our own subjects. But today, your talk gave an opportunity to all of us to see the richness of other branches of study also.
Yeah. And also, I just want to make a small note. I don't know if my voice or the screen is breaking in between, because what I'm experiencing in these online webinars is the mouse is not moving properly where exactly I wanted to show. I don't know if it is regarding to the speed or something. So that's the reason I could not show the exact points what I wanted to mention, and I always have a little break in my voice because I'm really confused where my mouse arrow is and then what I'm talking about. So I'm sorry with regarding to that if there was disturbing you also.
No, sir. I think for me, no disturbances at all. I think in YouTube stream also there won't be any disturbance. Even if it's so, I think people could understand. Like,
Thank you.
so it was a great.
Sir, everything was fine, sir. From our side also, it was very clear. Even the video and audio, it went on well, sir. Nice.
Okay, ma'am. Thanks a lot. Okay, that's good then. Yeah. So now do you think I can stop sharing or any other questions?
One more minute, sir. Like how
Yeah.
Venkatraman Ramakrishnan, sir, an Indian physicist and molecular biologist, got a Nobel Prize for chemistry. So, interdisciplinary approach is the most essential part of higher education today. A physicist learning biology and obtaining Nobel Prize in chemistry. It's really amazing achievement. So, I hope your talk would have given a lot of insights for youngsters to take up the insights and implement it in their area of work. And I want to assure you that many of it's a surprise that we didn't tell. Dr. Rajkumar is the old student of Andhra Loyola College, Vijayawada. We wanted to keep the secret till the end. Dr. Rajkumar, be sure that many of your lecturers, the present lecturers are also participating in this seminar, and I had seen many members, leading researchers, are also taking part in this webinar. That shows their greatness to attend, and that shows their enthusiasm towards learning more and more every day. Even if the information comes from youth, they are ready to take it up. And really, we are proud that an eminent youth who is doing the postdoctoral degree in Germany is able to address us on this International Youth Day on Abdul Kalam sir's birthday. It's a great coincidence, and really we are proud of Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, and we are really proud to see our youth shining like this. I hope your role model will inspire many of the youth who are attending this webinar, and they will take up a leading role in the future. And in this connection, I would also like to inform that yesterday's speaker, Dr. Y.S. Rao sir, has announced a contest, and we have shared with you. We have shared in the 3 WhatsApp groups. He has come out with an idea that inspires to innovate, and he has requested the participants, maybe lecturers, maybe scholars, maybe students, if you have any idea which could bring a solution for a crucial problem of today, if you could state and submit it to him, the best 5 ideas you would consider, and he's ready to give mentoring for you, to help you throughout your research part, or he's ready to offer internship possibility for you, or sometimes he will be providing scholarship also. So already some 30, I hope students, I don't know, 30 responses have come, but like feedback form, they should not in a hurry go and fill up something and submit that form. It's idea. It should be really vibrant and really nice. So please think, and if you feel that you can bring through some simple idea, bring a solution, means you share with some eminent people, genuine people. They will be with you and they will support you to bring your idea into your product. So with this assurance, we say that truly today's talk was interdisciplinary and inspired all of us. We, on behalf of all the delegates who are present here, I express our gratitude to Dr. Rajkumar for keeping your work aside and sharing your expertise with us. Thank you so much. We, the Department of Physics members, also take this opportunity to express our gratitude to all the delegates who are participating and who are with us. Thanks a lot. Have a nice evening. We will meet tomorrow. Tomorrow, Dr. Rajkumar sirs will be further enlightening, and especially for youth, lot of opportunities abroad to take up higher education and research. Everything you will be getting lot of insights. So please be present tomorrow also and support us and encourage us in our endeavors. Thank you, one and all. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks a lot from my side also, and my only main aim is, even at least if one student is able to excel with regard to my presentation, I'll be more than happy, and this is what I'm also trying to do, inspire as many students as possible. Thanks a lot for the opportunity once again to Stella College, and I'm open to others who wants me to present. Thanks a lot, ma'am.
Yeah. Thanks a lot to all of you. Some of you are worried that yesterday feedback link you couldn't fill up. Don't worry. Go ahead, fill up today's feedback link. Everything will go fine with you and us. Thank you. Let us take a break. Thank you, one and all. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thank you, sir. See you tomorrow. Thank you, sir.
Shall I stop sharing now, ma'am?
Yes,
Like.
Thanks a lot.
Ma'am, you can stop recording, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you. I became a bit thoughtful today. Dr. Rajput sir, it's excellent, amazing.
Thanks a lot, ma'am.
Very nice. Just when we put on the switch, how current flows. Oh my God, 3-5 you took over the session non-stop. You provided the informations and covered so many areas. And very often you said that you don't know physics, but many applications very beautifully you explained. You didn't tell the principle, but the application part very nicely you explained, sir.
Yeah,
we all enjoyed. Okay. We are very proud that the son of the soil has rocked the floor today.
Thanks a lot. Because I also thought like it's like 1.5 hours and I wanted time for more questions. That's the reason I didn't extend it to 2 hours. So that's why I stuck it to exactly 1 hour for. Because here we practice ourselves that we maintain up to even time of 1.5 hours. So it's 90 minutes.
No. Even I was observing 30 itself you came to the conclusion. How nicely you planned for it. It was really a surprise for us. That time sense we should learn from you.
Yeah. Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Thanks a lot. And maybe you can send me the review form, because I normally try to see all the feedback, all the feedbacks, and I try to respond if somebody needs something. So I'll be happy to receive them. Okay.
Definitely, complete response should be right to you. After that, maybe a day after tomorrow we will be good to go.
Okay. Madam, thanks a lot, ma'am. Yeah.
Yes, somebody will.
Participant, myself, Madam Chairman. Some of the participants asked for sir's email ID.
I will type it here.
Tomorrow,
I can type.
Tomorrow we will.
Yes, sir. You can
I think
share.
I will do it here. I can share it, because if tomorrow they won't join, then.
No, sir. We will join tomorrow because Thursday only the green population will come. The reason is they know third day only the certificate will be limited. So many will be coming tomorrow. Yes, sir.
Okay. Ma'am, and actually tomorrow, will the YouTube link will be the same, or should there will be another?
No, third day YouTube link will be changing. So Google Meet link will be the same.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Super, ma'am. Thanks a lot. Have a nice day. Bye.
Thank you so much. Very kind of you. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Okay, thank you, madam.
Thank you, Prasad Garu.
Okay, ma'am. Can I?
I forget you tomorrow. I should not forget. I should
Okay,
tell
no
your
problem.
name and give
Okay.
special thanks.
Can I stop the YouTube link, ma'am?
If I forget, also forgive me. What I speak, I don't know. Whatever comes from my mind, I just let it out.
Okay.
Tomorrow, definitely, I'll make a note and say thanks.
Okay.
And thank you for my team members. Wonderful support.
Okay, ma'am. Can I stop the YouTube link, ma'am?
Yeah.
Oh.
How
Okay.
about the complete thing? My husband was telling YouTube seeing some overlapping of slides, something occurred. Is it so?
No, ma'am. It's
No,
okay.
ma'am. No, ma'am. Everything was okay.
Then why he said that I was bit panic? Why that is happening? For me, everything went